What is a manager? Look it up in the dictionary and you'll find something like the following: a person in charge of the training and performance of an athlete or team. Well, that only begins to tell you what we do. First of all, let me clarify one thing. We are not managers in the traditional sense of the word. We do not train the wrestlers the way a traditional sports manager does. Truth be told, if they didn't already know how to train, wrestlers wouldn't have gotten into the point where we would be interested in representing them as managers. Let that marinate. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. No, we're less manager trainers than we are business managers. We make the matches, get our wrestlers what we consider their fair share of the gate. That's right, money. And keep them pumped up for the big bouts. Put them over, sell them. Sit back, kick back, and relax. Here with the GOC on Chaos Corner. Here in the lounge. Storytime 101. That's right. A complete idiot's guide to pro wrestling. Who better than a 50-year mark, fan, historian. 30 years as a pro wrestling manager. That's right, I said Mark. I'm proud of it. Kick back and relax. I'll keep reading on. We're a part of a team effort. Most times our wrestlers' performances in the ring are dependent upon our performances outside of the ring. You've seen us at ringside, jumping up and down like Rumpelstiltskin, doing anything and everything we can to help our wrestler win, fair or foul. And without a doubt, we are both male and female managers, the most colorful characters in all of professional wrestling. Therein lies our biggest asset, our ability to hype or heat up or sell, whatever word you want to use, a match, a bout, if you will. So here's the insider info on wrestling's managers. Who else to bring it to you? Kick back and relax. This is part 2. Go back and check out my 15-minute opening monologue here on the Complete Idiot's Guide, a match made in heaven, Burt Randolph Sugar and Captain Lou Albano, written well over 20 years ago in this business and still applies to here in 2022, in December of 2022. So let that sink in. Follow me on all social media platforms. You know what it is. I have some distractions going on here. We won't get too crazy. It's all official here at Chaos Corner. But thanks for being here. I greatly appreciate you guys. I'll be going in and out here, reading what's going on. I have the espresso. You guys know that. No Red Bull so far today. It's the weekend, man. It's Friday. Friday night. Just got paid. We're here at Chaos Corner. Everybody play. It doesn't get better than being with GOC, Max Caster, and MJF. You got nothing on me. All right, fans, thanks for being here. Let's get back to what we were talking about. I might even kick off these Armageddon glasses, if you know what I'm talking about. But let's see what happens. Let's jump off onto Bert's Corner and Captain Lou's Corner. I've talked about that to you guys before here when we've done these different reality shows, because this is reality. It's not really a podcast. I've been involved in radio and TV and film and movies and music and theater and sports and entertainment and, of course, wrestling and pro wrestling and managing. You guys get that, right? But I don't know. TV, this is reality TV here, a vlog. What do you want to call it? Bert's Corner, Burt Randolph Sugar, the legend. Remember when this was written? 1999. Remember that. Here we go. Burt Randolph Sugar. How important is a manager? Ask Strangler Lewis. Billy, a.k.a. Sandow, his manager, is a wonder in my corner. And I have come to depend on him entirely in my big matches. He can see what I can't. His presence back there is certainly a relief. When I lost the title, I wanted to retire, but Billy insisted I could beat Stanislaw Zbyszko, and further invited and certainly insisted I kept on training. I decided to take Sandow's advice and take care of myself. And thanks to Billy, I'm champion once again. And that's to quote the great Ed Strangler Lewis. Captain Lou's corner. One of the world's wordiest managers I've ever known and saw was Wild Red Barry. Barry studied the dictionary and books like Bartlett's Familiar Quotations and would incorporate them into the hype. Once he described a wrestler as having the sagacity for a chipmunk and the jaws of a lion. Let that sink in. The sagacity of a chipmunk and the jaws of a lion. Another time, he was issuing challenges in the name of his tag team, the legendary Kangaroos, and called on all the insidious mugwumps that stood in their path. Let that sink in. Here we go again with Alexa. This isn't Alexa Bliss. Alexa, lower the volume. Lower the volume, Alexa. Alexa, lower volume. Alexa, lower volume. How does this happen? We're only 7 minutes in. We're back. Chaos Corner. The good, the bad, and the ugly here of when you do things live to tape and it's not Patreon and there's no paywall and there's no editing and there's no producer and there's no board op and there's the camera or two and just the GOC. This is what happens here. But let's get back to what we were talking about. Let me see if I can get the distraction. Alexa, higher, please. Alexa, up the volume. Alexa, louder, please. Alexa, turn up the volume, please. How's that? Thanks for being here, fans. In all seriousness, this is good for me, and I hope it's good for you. Management 101. To illustrate what a manager does and how he or she does it, let me tell you about my own career as a manager, and maybe you'll begin to understand. Now, this is Captain Lou Albano talking through yours truly, the Guardian of Chaos. And then I'll throw in some of my stories and relationships. And you know that I had a chance to meet up with and pick the brain and almost became even at one time and work with Captain Lou Albano and be Lou Albano Jr. for up this way with the NECW and the legendary historian Sheldon Goldberg and the NWA territory, NWA New England, with the legendary Boston bad boy, BBB, Mr. Tony Rumble. Two legends. Unbelievable. The late, great Tony Rumble, the Boston bad boy, and of course, the current pro wrestling historian. Nobody like this gentleman, class personified in one Sheldon Goldberg. Two men an honor to be enough, but imagine if that would have went through back then. This was late 90s, maybe early 2000s. Listen, it's a long time ago, man. Just like this book, but current to today's product, like I've always said. Let me kick back. Relax. Stand by. As a wrestler, I was an who also ran away from the likes of Bruno Sammartino, Andre the Giant, and anyone else who looked like they could do me bodily harm. Granted, we sold out all the arenas where I pulled my feet. Don't fail me now act. That's right, feet don't fail me now. Jumping Jehoshaphat. But I was never giving my career more than a second thought. Nonetheless, it was one of those magic moments of self-doubt that Bruno Sammartino said to me, "You're not a great wrestler. You never shut up. You'd be a good manager." And how about that coming from Bruno to Captain Lou? I also had the opportunity, as you guys well know, and it's well documented, that I took over back in 1999 for commissioner of the North American Wrestling Alliance for Bruno Sammartino at the legendary Westchester County Civic Center. What a night that was. The same night that Shane Douglas dumped the ECW title in the garbage and took the NAWA heavyweight title at that time. Unbelievable. And I held that office for 20 years, over 20 years, perhaps the longest record in pro wrestling history. Independent, pro, triple A, double A, single A, it's all pro wrestling, whatever you want to talk about in the history books is over 20 years. Until I was relieved in 2021, I believe around this time last year. Let that marinate. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. And the current commissioner right now for that same organization is Mr. USA WWE Hall of Famer Tony Atlas. So it went from Bruno Sammartino. Here's the over 20-year, almost 25-year history and career of commissioners. Bruno Sammartino, to the Guardian of Chaos Big Daddy, to Mr. USA Tony Atlas. What a lineage. It's pretty impressive. But that's the personal connection, and that's what I throw back and forth here between what's going on in my career and parallel to what I'm trying to read and relate here. Alexa, lower volume, please. Thank you. Alexa, lower volume, please. Who do you think's listening in here? You wonder who's listening here. I know the boy's here. If you want to come up, come on, Emilio. He was on AEW Dynamite just recently, at the end of Dynamite with yours truly, and here he is. Here's the boy, Emilio, and it's perfect that we have this kind of music here, and we have the boy with the Guardian of Chaos. He's a pro wrestling fanatic, and he actually likes this kind of music. Boys, say hello. Let me get back to Pro Wrestling 101, Managers 101. All right, it's that time. All right, my friend. He's like a dog. He's a Maine Coon, as you can see. What do you think of the boy? He's quite impressive. This is what you get here live to tape. This is what you get with no editing. This is what you get here on Pro Wrestling 101 with the Guardian of Chaos. You never know what's going to happen because I bring you into basically my home in the different areas, from the bunker to the lounge to the offices to the executive boardroom. The only place you don't go is the latrine or the boudoir. Oh, well, I occasionally take you in the kitchen, but let's get back to what we have to do. Emilio, thanks for showing up. You're perfect timing. Back to where I was. Management 101. All right. You can hang out if you want, my friend. So here we go. Intrigued by Bruno's suggestion, I went to see Vince McMahon Sr. He agreed with Bruno's assessment, saying you'd be a natural. You're a good son of a bitch, right? You know, you're a good bum. You're a great. But before I realized that the words were out of my mouth, what the heck is a manager? Now, this is Captain Lou. Let that sink in. Huh, Emilio? You're a Lou Albano fan. Learning the managerial ropes. Vince's answer was simple, but to the point. Vince Sr., you do all the hype for your men. That was it. Well, ever since I was a little kid, I've had a motor mouth. In fact, people used to rib me about it, saying I had a mouth so big I could play the tuba, right, from both ends. And what better way to use it than as a manager, where I could walk into a room, voice first, hype my wrestlers, until my tongue got tired. Captain Lou Albano, again, fans, an unbelievable read. This is history in the making here, Chaos Corner. Learning the managerial ropes. The first wrestler I ever managed was Oscar Ledoux. Back in 1969, the kid was a natural for me. He mumbled and couldn't put two words together. So because I was his mouthpiece, much like when I was done and teamed up with, obviously, Abdul the Butcher in more recent times. If you remember, he never uttered a word and had his manager do the talking for him. Anyway, like a kind of dishonest ventriloquist. Kind of dishonest ventriloquist. Talk about tongue twisters. You want to help me read, boy? All right, Alexa. Lower the volume, Alexa.
Enjoy your journey.
Excuse me. Lower the volume, Alexa. You don't get to see. This won't be edited out. Lower the volume, Alexa. This won't be edited out. You guys know that, right?
To make it
Alexa, lower the volume. Boy, help me with the volume.
experience to look forward to. Want to learn more about Amtrak's amenities?
All right, fans, we're back. Managerial 101, learning the managerial ropes here with the GOC. It's me from Chaos Corner in the lounge with the boy, Emilio, and certainly Alexa. The first, again, we're talking Captain Lou Albano. You know this goes back over 20 years. And we were talking about tongue twisters and letting your being a manager and let your doing it till your tongue got tired, kind of like the GOC. You see where I get it from, right? Anyway, I represented Ledoux as both manager and a spokesman. Remember, this is Captain Lou quoting Captain Lou Albano. And operating on the theory that you can't get anywhere if you keep putting one word in front of another. I was able to maneuver him into the main event at the brand new Madison Square Garden for its very first wrestling show against Bruno Sammartino. Ironically, the man who first suggested I become a manager. History all comes around, guys. Come on over, Emilio. Manager notes Paul Bearer before we continue with the Captain Lou, Bruno Sammartino, and Ledoux story. The Undertaker is Paul Bearer's biggest draw in his stable of wrestlers, but he's not the only one. There's also the Undertaker's brother Kane, Glenn Jacobs, Dr. Isaac Yankem. Guys, remember, this goes back over 20 years. And there are more. Paul Bearer, a great name for the Undertaker's manager, don't you think? Has a ghoulish face and a fat body. He goes a little too heavy on the eye makeup, sure. It's part of the total gimmick, but let's get real here. Who's going to take Bearer seriously as a man from the dark side? Now, the Undertaker? Right, boy? The Undertaker. Now, he's scary. And as comical as Paul Bearer may look, he's done an excellent job of hyping media attention for The Undertaker and Kane, a la my point earlier, along with Captain Lou's, about hyping your man up and what a pro wrestling manager does in my opening monologue. He may look silly in his ringside garb, but he draws plenty of press attention, which is part of the manager's job. This is what I teach down at Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. This is what I've said before. This is what you get. Besides being Roma trained, Mancini brained, Paul Perez trained, Big Steve Tracy scared, you get guys like myself, the Guardian of Chaos, to teach you in promos, pro wrestling, whatever it need once I'm called in and off the bench. That's what we do at Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. That's what we do here at Chaos Corner. We're back to Captain Lou now, Bruno Sammartino. Again, remember the timeline here in the book that I'm reading from. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I've covered many chapters on this. It's been a lot of fun from Chaos Corner, covering the complete idiot's guide to pro wrestling. No offense to anybody out there, right? You see the boys right here, right? He's got to be a part of the podcast. The reality show. I soon found out that if I didn't hype my wrestler well and do well for him and for the promoter at the gate, then I would hear from Vince saying, well, you're not doing your job. You guys aren't selling out. They're not drawing. So I'd hype up to the high octane level, kind of like the GOC. Let me tell you about one of those high octane types that worked too well, as it turns out. Let me get a focus on this. As I look at a beautiful picture here of Captain Lou Albano with the head shrinkers, one of his, 16 or, 18 different tag team champions in the day. Let me see if I can get a quick photo on here. Beautiful photo, guys, right? I mean, I'm right? Right. So back to what I was talking about. Back in the 70s, I managed Ivan Koloff, the Russian Bear. These are my words thrown in here with it. Who was scheduled to take on Bruno Sammartino at the Garden for the world title, or at least the WWF version of it. Let's put it that way. Figure that if I put my finger in the ethnic melting pot and stirred, I could build the necessary heat for Koloff. I went on TV to promote the bout. Now, this was back in the days before political correctness and all the stuff that's going on in today's day and age. Right about that, Captain Lou. Became our national virus. Let that sink in. So you could say things you wouldn't dare say today. And this is a book that's written over 20 years ago and it was being said. You see the trend on the current times of what's going on today, right? And as I let you into the soul and the eyes of the GOC and what we're doing here, pro wrestling man. I got the boy on my shoulder. I'm using him as an eye. an armrest right now. All right, guys, so stand by. Running the hype. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm proud of my Italian heritage, as is the GOC. Proud of the fact that my father was born and educated there, my family from Naples. And proud that I was born in Rome while he was studying medicine over there. However, my ethnic pride didn't stop me from using hype to build Ivan's match. I remember that like yesterday. It's on YouTube, Ivan Koloff and Bruno Sammartino. Let's go into manager's notes with classy Freddie Blassie, you pencil neck geeks who have the brain of a dehydrated BB. After he retired as a wrestler, Blassie soon became one of the most hated managers in the WWF lineup. Those were the golden days, in my opinion, when I was in my late teens, early to mid-20s. Unbelievable when I went to briefly the Quest with Tony Altomore, Mario Mancini, and the like in 1984, I believe it was. 84, let that marinate. Guiding some of the meanest baddies in the ring, he specialized in foreign invader baddies. This is classy Freddie Blassie. Spiros Arion, Victor Rivera, Killer Khan, Mr. Fuji, the Iron Sheik, to name just a few. In addition to those evildoers from foreign lands, he had American ne'er-do-wells on his roster. Dick Murdoch, Jesse Ventura, Big John Studd, Stan Hansen, and adorable Adrian Adonis were just a few of those. He's the guy who brought Hulk Hogan into the WWF for the first time. You guys remember that. In 1979, he retired from wrestling in the mid-80s. After that, his biggest claim to fame was when he released the song, You Pencil Neck Geek, a huge novelty hit named for the term he called wrestling fans. I also urge you to go out and watch, as I get back into a little gimmick here, Breakfast with Blassie, which was a sit-down conversation between classy Freddie Blassie and Andy Kaufman at the time at a restaurant in Los Angeles. A very interesting watch and listen, especially if you're a Freddie Blassie and Andy Kaufman fan. It was like a sit-down with a impromptu camera where, it's kind of like they didn't know and it was viewed from the side. Interesting stuff. I recommend you go out and along with the video, I like to hurt people. OG stuff. Go back out and check that out, okay?
Would you also lose precious memories?
Oh, well, let's see. Wait, who's that? Alexa, play instrumental music. A beat.
Station, instrumental chill, free on Amazon Music.
Wow, it's free. If it's free, it's for me. Back to Captain Lou Albano. I went on television where I played it for all it was worth. With tongue planted firmly in my safety-pinned cheek, I said Bruno Sammartino's Italian. I used to be an Italian. I changed my name to Captain Lou Albert. Let's face it, what have guineas ever done? Here I've decided to let it all hang out, as they say. All they've ever done is drive garbage trucks. I mean, you take garbage trucks in New York and you see an Italian driving and a Puerto Rican loading. At midday, they switch off. Remember the time frame here. This was written well over 20 years ago, and it's my channel. Kick back, relax. We're 25 minutes in here at Chaos Corner, giving you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Managers 101. I know. No makeup. I get it. Sit back and relax. I got the face for radio. I scare the rats off cheesecake. I make onions cry. Okay, back to Captain Lou. What are you doing? Where you going, my friend? You hanging out anymore with Pop-Pop? Where you going? That's what he calls me. You should hear him. He actually says it. All right, brother. Come back. Let me get back to what I'm doing here. We're 25 minutes in. Fans, don't go anywhere. We're kicking back and relaxing. I'm going to make this into a part 3. Pro Wrestling Managing 101. The Guardian of Chaos. Chaos Corner. Live to tape, man. Don't you dare miss it. Alexa, higher the volume. Come on back. Don't you dare miss it. The GOC in Chaos Corner. An espresso.